When you hear the words, "I let a stranger carry me in his arms," your first instinct may be to resist. The idea of surrendering, of letting someone else hold you up when you cannot carry yourself, can feel terrifying. We are conditioned to believe that strength is found only in independence, that safety is found only in control. Yet the truth is, there comes a moment in every life when we realize that holding on too tightly is the very thing that weighs us down. Trusting, surrendering, and allowing another presence, whether a person, a circumstance, or even a force greater than ourselves, to lift us, is often the beginning of transformation. It is the moment we release the chains of pride, of fear, and of endless overthinking. It is the moment when we stop wrestling with life and begin to let life guide us. Negative feelings thrive in resistance. They feed on the energy of, "I must handle this alone," on the stubbornness of, "I cannot show weakness," and on the inner narrative that says, "If I trust, I will be betrayed." These feelings lock us in a cycle of self-protection, where we build walls so high that nothing, not even light, can enter. And yet, when we finally let those walls crack, even slightly, we find that trust itself becomes medicine. The act of surrender is not about weakness. It is about strength deep enough to admit that you don't have to do everything by yourself. Think of how much courage it takes to open your heart in a world that has taught you to close it. Think of how much power it requires to stop fighting and to start allowing. That is the essence of letting a stranger carry you. Not necessarily in the physical sense, but in the sense of being open to life, helping you in ways you never expected. When you let go and surrender, something magical happens. You discover that the universe has always been conspiring to support you. Sometimes it appears through people you never thought would be there for you. Sometimes it comes through circumstances that initially look like breakdowns, but turn out to be breakthroughs. The stranger is symbolic. It may be a chance encounter, an unexpected opportunity, or even a sudden realization that lifts you higher than you could climb alone. To let a stranger carry you in his arms is to recognize that life is bigger than your fears. It is to understand that you are not abandoned, you are not forgotten, and you are not without help. The difficulty is that negative feelings convince us otherwise. They whisper that no one can be trusted, that surrender means danger, and that letting go means losing control. But here is the deeper truth. What we call control is often nothing more than a prison of our own making. By clinging tightly to every detail, by refusing to let anyone or anything support us, we rob ourselves of freedom. Freedom begins the moment you accept that trust is a bridge. On one side of the bridge is fear, doubt, anxiety, and heaviness. On the other side is peace, lightness, and the quiet strength of knowing that you don't need to carry it all alone. Imagine for a moment that you are exhausted, carrying the weight of years of disappointment, regret, and sadness. Your body aches, your heart aches, your mind won't rest. Then someone appears. Not someone you expected, not someone you planned for, and offers to carry you for a while. At first, your instinct is to push them away. You think, "I don't know this person. I can't trust them. What if they let me fall?" But the longer you resist, the heavier the burden becomes. Finally, when you cannot take another step, you allow yourself to be lifted. In that moment, something shifts. The ground feels different. The world looks different. And for the first time in a long time, you breathe deeply again. That is what surrender does. That is what trust allows. It doesn't erase the pain immediately, but it changes your relationship to it. You are no longer walking alone. Negative emotions want to isolate you. They want to convince you that you must remain in the dark, hidden, unreachable. But surrender pulls you out of isolation. It invites connection. It invites love. It invites healing. To let yourself be carried is not about depending on someone else forever. It is about remembering that strength is a shared experience. You are not strong because you never lean. You are strong because you know when to lean and when to rise again. Trusting doesn't mean you will never be hurt. Trusting doesn't mean you give away your power. Trusting means you choose to believe that there is more good in this world than there is harm, more love than betrayal, more support than abandonment. Every time you make that choice, you dissolve a layer of negativity that has been weighing you down. Every time you let someone or something carry you, you open the door to possibility. The stranger who carries you may not be a person at all. It could be a new idea, a new perspective, a sudden burst of faith in yourself that feels almost foreign. It could be the quiet stillness of meditation, the healing rhythm of music, the power of a single kind word. These are strangers too, and when you allow them to carry you, they lift you beyond the grip of negative emotions. They remind you that surrender is not the end. It is the beginning. The mind is a powerful lens. It does not see the world as it is. It sees the world as it believes it to be. When you are trapped in negative feelings, the lens through which you view everything becomes clouded, distorted, and heavy. A small challenge feels like a mountain. A single mistake feels like proof of your worthlessness. One unkind word echoes in your mind louder than 100 kind ones. The circumstance may be the same, but the way you choose to look at it determines whether it crushes you or teaches you. Shifting perspective is not about denying what is real. It is about choosing to look beyond the pain, to see the hidden lesson, the disguised opportunity, the seed of strength waiting to grow. Negative feelings survive because we feed them with the story we tell ourselves. If something goes wrong, the story might be, "Why does this always happen to me?" If someone betrays us, the story becomes, "I can never trust anyone again." If we fail at a task, the story might be, "I am not good enough. I will never succeed." These stories are powerful not because they are true, but because we repeat them so often that we begin to accept them as truth. Perspective is the key that unlocks us from these prisons. When you change the story, you change the meaning, and when you change the meaning, the weight of negativity begins to dissolve. Consider this: two people can live through the same event, but one emerges broken while the other emerges stronger. The difference is not in the event. It is in the meaning they gave it. To one, a loss may mean the end of hope. To the other, it may mean the start of a new path. To one, rejection may mean unworthiness. To the other, it may mean redirection towards something greater. This is the power of shifting perspective. Life is not what happens to you. It is how you interpret it, how you respond, how you decide to see it. When you are caught in negative emotions, it feels like life is happening against you. The heaviness of resentment, anger, fear, or sadness convinces you that you are a victim of circumstances beyond your control. But when you shift perspective, you step into a different awareness. You begin to see that life is happening for you, not to you. Every challenge becomes a teacher. Every disappointment becomes an invitation to grow. Every setback becomes a setup for something greater. This doesn't erase the pain, but it transforms your relationship to it. Pain becomes purposeful. Struggles become stepping stones. Suddenly, what was once unbearable becomes the very force that strengthens your spirit. It takes discipline to shift perspective. The natural tendency of the mind is to spiral downward, to dwell on what is missing, to magnify problems until they fill the whole horizon. To resist this pull, You must train yourself to pause and ask new questions. Instead of asking, "Why me?" begin to ask, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of asking, "What did I lose?" ask, "What can I gain from this?" Instead of asking, "How can I escape this pain?" ask, "How can I grow through this pain?" Each new question opens a door to a higher perspective, and each higher perspective weakens the grip of negative feelings. Imagine standing at the base of a mountain. From below, the path looks impossible. Rocks block the way, shadows make it hard to see, and every step feels heavier than the last. But as you climb, the view begins to change. What once looked like an obstacle now looks small and insignificant. What once seemed endless now has form and shape. By the time you reach a higher point, you see not only the path you took, but also the beauty surrounding it. The mountain did not change. Your perspective did. And with that shift, your entire experience transformed. In relationships, this shift is especially powerful. When hurt by another person, the immediate perspective is anger, betrayal, or rejection. But if you look deeper, you may begin to see that their actions were reflections of their own pain, not proof of your lack of worth. Instead of saying, "They broke me," you can shift to, "They revealed something within me that needs healing." Instead of saying, "They abandoned me," you can say, "They cleared space for someone who will cherish me." This does not excuse poor behavior, but it frees you from being chained to bitterness. It turns wounds into wisdom. Even within yourself, perspective matters. When you fail at something, the negative perspective says, "I am not capable." The higher perspective says, "This is feedback, not failure. This is guidance, not punishment." With that awareness, every mistake becomes a lesson, and every lesson makes you stronger. Instead of sinking into shame, you rise into understanding. The truth is, the world mirrors back to us the perspective we choose. If you look for pain, you will find it everywhere. If you look for reasons to be angry, you will never run out of them. But if you look for blessings, if you look for lessons, if you look for growth, the same world that once seemed cruel begins to appear generous. It is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about realizing that even imperfection has beauty, even endings carry beginnings, even struggles hold treasures. Perspective is the bridge from negativity to possibility. It is not an instant change. It is a daily practice. Each time you catch yourself sinking into a dark story, you can pause and rewrite it. Each time you feel trapped by pain, you can choose to see a wider picture. Slowly, the shift happens. Slowly, the weight lifts. What once felt like a burden becomes a gift, and what once felt like the end becomes the very doorway to a new beginning. There is a light within every person. A flame that has burned since the moment you first opened your eyes to this world. Most of the time, you don't think about it, because it feels ordinary, like the air you breathe. But when negative feelings come, when darkness wraps itself around your mind and heart, that light becomes harder to see. You start to believe it may have gone out, that you are left empty, powerless, or forgotten. Yet the truth is, no matter how heavy the clouds may gather, the light never disappears. It only waits for you to notice it again, to fan it back into brightness, to let it carry you through the storms of doubt, fear, and despair. Just as a stranger can carry you physically when your body is too weak to walk, this inner light has the power to carry you emotionally when your spirit feels too tired to rise. The mistake many make is searching outside for something that is already within. We look for validation from others, for approval from the world, for love from people who may not even know how to give it to themselves. We cling to these external sources of light, And when they flicker or disappear, we convince ourselves that we are lost. But what if the stranger you are waiting for is not a person at all, but the hidden strength that has always lived inside of you? What if the arms that can carry you through the heaviest moments are not made of flesh and bone, but of faith, resilience, imagination, and self-belief? When negative feelings strike, they attack the very core of your identity. They whisper lies that say, "You are not enough. You are weak. You are broken." And when you believe those lies, your light dims. Not because it has been extinguished, but because you have allowed the smoke of fear and self-doubt to cover it. Yet, even then, the flame is still alive, waiting for the moment you decide to breathe again, to clear away the smoke, to remember that you are more powerful than the weight pressing down on you. The act of remembering, of carrying your own light within, is what lifts you. It is what allows you to keep walking, even when your steps are slow and heavy. Think of a time when you thought you could not endure something, yet somehow you did. Think of the nights when you cried yourself to sleep, and still woke up the next morning, still breathing, still moving forward. That was your light carrying you. It was not visible to anyone else, but it was there, holding you through the night. That same strength has carried you countless times before, and it will carry you again. It is not about pretending the pain does not exist. It is about remembering that the pain is not stronger than the spirit that lives inside you. There is a beautiful paradox here. The darker the night becomes, the brighter even the smallest light shines. You don't need the whole world to illuminate at once. Sometimes all it takes is a spark, one thought of gratitude, one act of kindness, one deep breath of faith, and that spark grows into a glow strong enough to guide you. Negative feelings convince you that you are powerless, but the truth is, the smallest decision to focus on your light shifts everything. It is the decision to say, "I may not control the storm, but I can carry the flame within me through it." And that flame becomes your shelter, your compass, your strength. This inner light is not only for yourself. When you begin to recognize and nurture it, you discover that it has the power to carry others too. Just as a stranger may lift you when you cannot walk, your light may lift someone else when they are drowning in their own darkness. The way you smile, the way you listen, the way you show compassion. These are beams of light that travel farther than you can see. And the more you share your light, the brighter it becomes within you. You don't lose anything by giving it away. Instead, you multiply it. Carrying light within also means learning to trust it when everything outside feels uncertain. People may leave. Circumstances may crumble. Plans may fall apart. But when you build your life anchored in the light within, you are no longer at the mercy of external chaos. You become steady, unshakable, resilient. You may bend, but you will not break, because the flame inside is eternal. It is connected to something far greater than your fears. It is the same force that pushes flowers through cracks in concrete, that turns seasons from winter to spring, that lifts the sun over the horizon every morning without fail. That same force lives inside you, carrying you forward even when you cannot see the path ahead. Negative feelings will always try to pull you into darkness. They will tell you that you are forgotten, unloved, or incapable. But when you turn inward and carry your light, you begin to see those feelings for what they are: temporary shadows. Shadows can seem overwhelming, but they are powerless against light. Even the faintest flame dissolves them instantly. Your task is not to fight the shadows endlessly, but to keep the flame alive, to nurture it with belief, gratitude, and awareness. That is what allows you to walk through valleys of doubt with your head lifted high. That is what allows you to keep moving when everything in you wants to stop. That is what transforms the act of surviving into the act of rising. Every negative feeling you have ever experienced, fear, anger, sadness, rejection, grief, has arrived carrying a message. Most of the time, when these feelings surface, the instinct is to push them away, to numb them, to pretend they do not exist. We see them as enemies, as forces that are here to weaken us or destroy us. But in truth, they are teachers, each one holding an invitation to growth. Turning pain into purpose is not about denying the ache that lives in your heart. It is about learning to listen to what the ache is trying to show you. Pain speaks a language that cannot be ignored. When you choose to interpret that language instead of resisting it, you transform it from a weight into a compass, from a wound into wisdom, from something that once broke you into something that now builds you. Think of a seed. When it is placed in the soil, it does not rise immediately into the sunlight. First, it must be buried in darkness, pressed down by the weight of the earth. To the seed, it might feel like the end. Yet, what looks like burial is actually planting. The pressure, the darkness, the struggle to push through the soil, these are not punishments. They are part of the process. Without them, the seed could never become a tree. Your pain works in the same way. The negative feelings that bury you are not there to destroy you. They are there to shape you, to strengthen you, to prepare you for the life you are meant to live. What feels like suffocation is often the beginning of transformation. Turning pain into purpose begins with awareness. It requires a shift in how you view the emotions that hurt the most. When you are betrayed, instead of drowning in bitterness, you can choose to learn about trust, boundaries, and self-worth. When you are rejected, instead of concluding that you are unworthy, you can see it as redirection toward people and opportunities that will value you. When you experience failure, instead of stamping yourself with shame, you can recognize it as feedback guiding you closer to mastery. Pain gives you two choices: to remain a victim of it or to rise as a student of it. The path of purpose is chosen when you decide that your struggle will not be wasted. There is a unique strength that emerges from pain, one that cannot be faked, one that cannot be learned from books or classrooms. It is the strength that comes only from surviving nights when you thought you would never see the morning. It is the wisdom that comes only from walking through valleys so deep that you feared you would not return. This strength becomes a gift you carry for the rest of your life. And it is not just for you. It is for others as well. When you turn pain into purpose, you create a light that guides others who are walking through their own darkness. Your scars become maps. Your struggles become proof that healing is possible. What once silenced you becomes the very voice that speaks life into someone else. Look at the people in the world who inspire the most. More often than not, they are not people who lived without pain. They are people who transformed their pain into service, into creativity, into movements that touched countless lives. The one who was abandoned becomes the one who teaches others the value of self-love. The one who was silenced becomes the one who writes words that heal. The one who walked through poverty becomes the one who builds opportunities for others. This is not coincidence. This is the natural law of transformation. The heaviest burdens, when embraced and refined, often produce the greatest gifts. Negative emotions, left unattended, will chain you to the past. They will keep replaying the story of what went wrong, who hurt you, what you lost. But when you give them a higher purpose, the chain breaks. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and begin asking, "How can this serve me?" And how can it serve others? This single question shifts everything. Suddenly, your suffering is no longer meaningless. It has context, it has direction, it has a reason to exist. And with that reason, you begin to feel lighter. You begin to rise, not in spite of your pain, but because of it. It is not about glorifying suffering. Pain is real, and it hurts deeply. But purpose gives the pain a container, a reason, a path forward. Without purpose, pain feels endless, like a wound that will never heal. With purpose, the same wound becomes a scar, a reminder of how far you have come and what you have survived. Scars are not signs of weakness. They are symbols of strength. They prove that you faced something powerful enough to wound you. Yet you are still here, still breathing, still moving forward. The process of turning pain into purpose is ongoing. It does not happen all at once. It begins with small choices. The choice to see the lesson, the choice to rise one more time after falling, the choice to share your story instead of hiding it. Each choice builds momentum. Each choice turns your negative feelings into stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. Over time, you look back and realize that the very experiences that once broke you are the ones that gave you your deepest wisdom, your strongest resilience, and your greatest compassion. Pain carves space within you. It deepens you. It stretches your heart so that when joy finally enters again, it can fill you in ways you never thought possible. Without the contrast of sorrow, joy would be shallow. Without the burn of loss, love would not be cherished as deeply. This is the gift of negative feelings. They prepare you to receive more fully, to appreciate more deeply, to connect more authentically. In turning pain into purpose, you are not just surviving. You are creating meaning, building strength, and allowing your life to become a beacon of hope for yourself and for those who will walk the path after you.